Why did I leave it so long to get to that pub? It was my mum who told me when I was a child about this Dirty Dick's pub. It was the home of a dirty old man called Dick, and it was full of spider webs and dusty dead rats and cats. I was dying to see it, but by the time I was old enough to order a pint from the bar, health and safety legislation had forced the pub to clean up its act. Still, it does have an interesting history. In 1745, it opened as a regular pub called the Old Jerusalem at Bishopsgate on the edge of the City of London. Then, about 50 years later, the owner of the pub at the time had a light bulb moment. He'd heard about Nathaniel Bentley, who lived nearby. This man had inherited his father's successful hardware business and enjoyed all that his wealth could buy. He certainly looked the part and was known as the Beau of Liverpool Street. But one day, tragedy struck. On the eve of his wedding, he heard that his fiancée had suddenly died. Nathaniel Bentley was heartbroken. He lost interest in keeping up appearances of both himself and his home. He forbade his servants to clear away the wedding breakfast that was laid out in his grand dining room. He became famous for his squalid and miserly ways. There were rumours that he actually slept in a coffin. And then, when Bentley's lease on his property expired, he moved out, leaving the premises exactly as they were. Then the owner of the Old Jerusalem pub saw his opportunity. He bought the contents of Nathaniel Bentley's home and spread all these dirty relics, these decomposing artifacts around his pub. He added a few spider webs of his own and threw a bit of soot around. Thus, he created a hugely successful 19th century theme pub known as Dirty Dick's. When Charles Dickens visited the pub, his imagination was fired up by this story. And so when, in 1861, his novel Great Expectations was published, many readers recognised his inspiration for the story of Miss Havisham. She was the wealthy brewer's daughter who, while dressing for her wedding, learnt that her fiancé had disappeared with all her fortune. She spent the rest of her life as a recluse in her dining room, all laid out for her wedding feast. She just watched the rats devouring her decaying wedding cake. The lives of both Nathaniel Bentley and the fictitious Miss Havisham ended in tragedy. Bentley, after giving up his London premises, was robbed of his fortune. He became a travelling beggar and died of fever in Scotland. And as for Miss Havisham, she sought revenge by training her beautiful young ward, Estelle, to break the heart of Pitt, the novel's young hero. You can break his heart. Although she later regretted her wickedness, Charles Dickens gave her a suitable ending. One day, many years later, her wedding dress caught fire. The flames destroyed her room with its rotting contents, and she later died of her burns. Both stories have lingered in my mind for many years. I kept meaning to visit Dirty Dick's. I knew it had been cleaned out, but I'd heard there were some of Dirty Dick's relics left, including the corpse of a cat. Okay, I was going to go and take a look, but I was feeling a bit apprehensive. Would it live up to my fantasy of it? Yeah, it's a nice pub. It's between the business district of the City of London and Spitalfields, with its hip vibe and colourful history, so it attracts an interesting mixture of drinkers. But where were Dirty Dick's filthy bits and pieces? I scoured the pub for them. I saw some commemorative pictures, but nothing else. Eventually, I asked the barman. "The cat's gone," he replied. What? He mumbled something about health and safety legislations. I was disappointed, but I put on a brave face and had another drink.